Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to The Boys Season 3 review. This is Episode 7. I am the animated animals in my head, Travis Snail. I'm joined by...
I'm the Hoover Deluxe Taylor Field.
Yeah, oh boy, we got a good episode. As you can see, Jessica could not join us tonight. She's a little busy. We got a whole bunch of mixed plans. Jessica got busy, and then we had some busy stuff. So we did promote that there was a newscast. You will get that newscast because we got lots of juicy DC stuff to talk about. People are getting mad about Keaton stuff. People are getting mad about Superman stuff. All the shebang. We got some Godzilla news for Taylor. We got a bunch of things. So look out for your timelines when we do that. That'll be sometime this week, but week or weekend. Just look out for that. But that happens. It's just like wrestling. Cards subject to change. And I imagine Jessica should hopefully be here on the boys finale next week. That's going to be on the Friday, because next week, I'm just getting the plugs right now, next week we have Thor and the boys on the same day. My hope is that they were going to realize that and they might drop like the boys a day early, like on the Wednesday instead. I've heard no rumors, don't believe me at all. I'm just saying that's my hope, is like maybe they'll be like, oh, Thor's coming out, let's get ahead of it. But if not, we'll review Thor on the Thursday, dropping the Friday, and then same with the boys Friday, dropping on the Saturday. So we got lots of good stuff going on. I'm going to be reviewing Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 2, maybe joined by Jessica on that one. And then we got newscasts and a whole bunch of stuff. So, yeah, Taylor, where can they find that all?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter, and GeekVerse on our Facebook.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, just head down to links below and everything we do there. Our solo feeds, our feed that has everything, our podcast network feeds, how to find us, join the Discord to talk to us and other GV listeners. And everything to rate, review, the video feeds, the audio feeds, and most importantly, the Patreon, because that helps support us. That helps, as you've seen all these mini casts we've done. You guys and gals and everyone else in between, you're the reason why we get to do these extra casts, because as we said before, this is not, this is our small business. It's one of our jobs, but it's not our full-time job, and it takes a lot of time, and you guys support like the retros, side quests we brought back, these extra reviews. You guys literally make it so we have time to do these. So a big thank you. And you get stuff in between, exclusive episodes, the call-in shows, you get to vote, especially, I guess I shouldn't promote it yet, but at the end of the year, you guys are going to get a vote on a lot of 2023 content. But in August, we have August or end of July, we have our first Patreon poll. So lots of good stuff going on there, ad-free feeds, and yeah, you want to head over there and just get a lot of good stuff. And the more you support us, the more you get. So not a bad deal. All good things all around. Manscaped, go over to that website, manscaped.com, get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with our code GVPOD. I always want to call our podcast code, which isn't wrong. It is a podcast code, but I just our code GVPOD, and you get those things. I'll tell you a bit more about that later. And then I think that's everything. The two biggest things I say for what we got coming up is it's the pin post on Twitter, Patrons, it's there. I'll be reminding people throughout the weekend. I'll send out a couple more posts, but every year for our anniversary cast, we do a Q&A. So what we do is every member of GeekVerse, we pose a question to one another, but also we take in any questions. As you see on newscasts, we accept we accept those questions from patrons. This cast, it's from anybody, whether you're on Twitter, Facebook, Discord, Patreon. You don't have to support us on the Patreon to send these questions. We'll take whatever question, personal, geek-related, fun, serious, debate-worthy, rankings, whatever it may be, send it in. We got some good ones now, but we always want more. We're always looking to pick the fans' brain, so please send those in. That'll be recording on July, July 5th. So you got a little while to send them in, so go do that. And so Taylor Field, what did you think of this episode? This is the penultimate episode of The Boys. We've had a raucous season so far. Great episode last week. Where does this fit in that hierarchy right now?
Well, it's definitely a bit of a recuperation from last week's episode, that's for sure. And it's not even, when I say recuperation, I don't even mean slowing down. Like it's still picking up and building up to a very climactic finale. We got a couple of answers to a couple little things, but then they just threw us a big monkey wrench of just like, wow, like this is pretty huge and significant as the story's progressing and developing. But for the most part, like I was so into this episode, and like I was laughing a couple times, but they dialed down, I'd say, the humor for most of it. It was just much more like a very serious, like, holy shit, like there's some very prominent things unfolding in our story with our characters right now. So I was very much like involved with this episode, and I'm very excited to see how this is going to go to the finale. I still feel like there's still so much to unbottle, and kind of dissect, I guess, in terms of what they're setting up now with this penultimate episode. So it'll be interesting to see how they conclude everything. But it's the boys. I imagine they're going to conclude it pretty well.
Yeah, so it's funny because this reminded me a lot of how Game of Thrones, you'd get the penultimate episode, which felt like the finale, and then the finale was always a bit slower and kind of a cool down. That's what this felt like. Now, I think the good thing about this is the penultimate. So we got a finale like episode last week, and then the penultimate here, and then next week it feels like, man, we're just gonna have a rockin' finale. I feel like it's still not gonna be slow, but I don't think it's gonna be the complete balls to walls that we're expecting because we've talked about certain characters switching or things like that. Of or big reveals which we got, but I mean obviously this particular thing with Homelander, we've talked about when's that going to happen, and it could happen next week, but I feel like it's going to be a much more reduced in things. But yeah, at first it was not a bad episode, but I was like, man, when we had that kind of cliffhanger last week, I thought this was going to be another rockin' one, but this was kind of taking our time. And I thought, okay, this is just a solid set. We got, I'd say, lots of great character work. And Boys always does that, but I feel like we got multiple character developments as far as just actually feelings, emotions. There's a couple things I have some questions about, not necessarily, again, as a bad way, because most of the time the Boys pays off the questions I have. But one particular thing they did with Butcher that I am very much questioning, and I don't know which route we're going. And yeah, like Taylor said, some big reveals, some big kind of arrows pointing certain ways now. And this, I don't think I've had this in the Boys yet. This had a moment, because Emily's not caught up, and I don't know if she's ever going to catch up, but this had a moment where I literally stood up and fist pumped in the air. I went, fucking yeah. Like, I cheered like I was watching a Marvel Star Wars show. Like, and I haven't had that with the Boys. And I love the Boys. I think it's one of the best shows on TV, but I haven't had particularly that moment. I've had things close where it's like, oh, the fight's happening and stuff, but this was like, I got up and just audibly was like, oh my fucking God, yes. Because it's what I love about this show is when you start to think, you're like, oh man, they're taking a really easy route. This is kind of dumb. And then boom, they just come in there like a bulldozer. And you're like, oh yeah, that's why I fucking love this show. And yeah, next week I can't wait to see what's gonna happen. Lots of bad shit, I imagine, but I hope the best for our hero. So anything else Taylor before we get on with this?
I don't think so. No, just yeah, spoilers. Let's do it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you've not seen the episode, go watch it and then come back, and we'll be here. Don't rush. You got our non-spoiler thoughts. Take your time. It's a long weekend, I think, for Americans and Canadians for different days and whatnot. So go do that, and we're gonna break down this episode right now. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So Taylor, who do you want to start with? What do you want to start with as far as a big twist, a character moment? What do you want to go with?
I want to start with Black Noir because he was definitely the guy in the room that we were figuring out last episode, I believe. So now here we are, and he's he never disappoints. Like Black Noir is literally just he's one of my, as I said before, like one of my favorite things about this show, and he just continues to be. So when he goes into that little pizzeria and the animated characters come to life and start talking to him, it's so absurd, and I just really, really get a kick out of it and love it. But it was very sad because they were just recreating his experience and his history of just being a victim. So
yeah. Well, it's interesting because I hope you enjoy Black Noir because I don't think he's going to be around much longer. He's on a collision course right now with Soldier Boy. And that was great to get some of the dynamic of two things. Of one, just if you hear a plane go over me, I'm sorry. But it's on the house and the window's open. So if you hear any noises, I'll try and mute it. But of course, right now I'm talking. So I can't just mute myself. And Taylor's eating. So we got a great combo because Taylor just got off work. So, boom. So anyways. With Black Noir, it was fun to get the kind of the history of one. It just shows how messed up the guy is, unfortunately, because just whether it's PTSD, whether it's brain injuries, that he didn't, okay, he signed up for it, I guess, in a way, but still he didn't sign up to kind of be friendly fired on, and that's what we saw here. And this was the origin story, and it's something so great because it's just, you have this very brutal story, but they use these animated cartoon Disney-like characters to tell it. And just when you think the boys, and this isn't anything like termite going to the penis, but just when you think you've seen it all, you get it again here. This reminded me kind of similar to the ending of Deadpool when he got knocked out and he saw those things and everything like that, and it kind of fits with Black Noir. And yeah, we got the story of he was just he was trying to get the role of Axel Foley in Beverly Hills Cop, and because Homelander didn't want anyone potentially to outshine, or sorry, that's a Freudian slip right there. Soldier Boy didn't want anyone to outshine him. he beat the shit out of him, and then later on, like he beat the shit out of him one time. There's this terrible thing where he like grabs him by the nose, pulls him out, and then hits him again. And we saw it all in animated form. We saw all the payback team and stuff, but then we saw the reveal of how they took him down, where Edgar made a deal with Black Noir, and he said, "Well," and we'll get to this later. Like, well, we have a reason. You can get rid of them now. Before we couldn't, but don't worry about it. You got the full green light. And we go back to, we'd seen a little bit of the live action stuff before, but we had seen the aftermath of like Soldier Boy getting exploded and then Black Noir just on the ground beat up, where now we've seen that Black Noir didn't get, because it's funny when that explosion happened, that flashback, we thought, oh, that's what took him out. That's not what took him out in that scenario. It was Soldier Boy that took him out, and just like, I don't know how his brain got back in his skull, you know, like I guess it's just barely attached to it. They just kept his fighting abilities and everything, but like and maybe it wasn't literal, but still it's just showing that okay, his brains were kind of literally smashed in and stuff. And yeah,
I was gonna say like it the cartoon element definitely makes it seem like, oh, is it being exaggerated to certain degrees, but especially when Soldier Boy grabs him by the nose, the nostrils.
Yeah.
But then that scene where the cartoon form is reaching out for the brain, and then he actually physically goes and touches the top of his head. It's like, oh shit, okay,
Yeah.
this is some truth in these.
And it would make sense that he's probably just suffering obviously from major brain damage because he can't talk anymore and he doesn't seem completely all there. But the resolution, and they went through all this stuff, which was, it's interesting again with the boys and how they operate in the gray, where they talk about some things he's done that sound like, you know, he's assassinating people, things that are bad, but then also just things that are, he kind of responded like something bad was happening and he did something worse. But again, it shows that he's maybe taken innocent lives, but then he's also saved people. So again, it's kind of an interesting situation, but more or less of the moral of the story is that he has to confront Soldier Boy. You know, that's what he's been holding deep down. And I think he's going to put up a little bit of fight. I think he's going to know a bit of Soldier Boy's tricks, so that's how he might be able to withstand a little bit. But I think Black Noir's ending might come here, especially what we learned with Homelander and Soldier Boy. I think it might be a fitting end if he's around them both to kind of get that. But I don't know, as we've learned in this episode, of why he's kind of immune, why he's not the most bright, not even brightest, but just kind of in the know or just kind of current character. He's always in the background, right? That's what Black Noir. He's there for the mission, but he's not putting much input. I don't know after this reveal what more you can do with Black Noir other than maybe him like switching sides, but I feel like he's not so much of a sides guy and he's just much more of a, he has to do his own thing, and I think his own thing is to take out Soldier Boy. And one, two, I was going to say, if that goes, do you think that's going to happen next week, this fight? And two, do you think Black Noir will survive it?
Well, I'm wondering if we could get some kind of dilemma of like Homelander. The whole thing with Homelander and Soldier Boy, that's one thing. But I'm wondering if we'll put Homelander in a situation where he choose Black Noir over Soldier Boy to a certain degree. I don't know, because like Black Noir legit is just like, he, of all the characters, you just see Homelander just truly loving Black Noir, and of all the things, like he felt truly hurt that Black Noir just disappeared. So with this added in the context, I think it'll create like an interesting dynamic for Homelander and how he's going to process this when he has the information.
See, I thought it might be a way though of like Black Noir could be close to getting Soldier Boy, or Soldier Boy and Homelander might just like take turns fucking him up, you know? Because I feel like he did like kind of lose that whatever confidence he had in Black Noir last week. He's like, even Black Noir left me, so that's where I'm not sure. And yeah, I guess we should just talk about, because we're gonna dance around. I feel like we're gonna keep referring back to it, so we'll kind of talk about Soldier Boy and Homelander, their journeys to get there. I imagine throughout this episode, but just the ending result, the big reveal. So we're jumping in a little bit of who was the guy? It was Mindfront, or that was the telepath, was it? He was Mind something. Taylor's gonna look it up. Mindstorm. God, some of these names, but like, so Mindstorm. We'll get back to it. He was on the payback. Just another guy that Soldier Boy wants to kill, right? And he gives up the information of his Black Noir, and he says, "Oh, and why would Black Noir do that? He'd need Vought's approval." He goes, "Well, he did have Vought's approval. Why did he?" And then they do this great cut where they're talking, and he's like, "That can't be true, Soldier Boy. You don't see what Mindstorm said," and he just bashes his skull, his skull with the shield, very much like John Walker. And now it is the situation where they hide it. I'm happy we got it revealed this episode, because I thought they're going to reveal it next week. And again, I haven't read the comics. I just knew it was going to be something big, because, okay, yeah, if Vought did approve it, why? And I love that that's how this episode ends. The stinger is he calls Homelander. Well, Homelander, which we're going to get into, is on complete damage control right now. Things are falling apart all like every week they're falling more and more apart for Homelander. But either way, so this is happening, and then he's on the phone with the agent, and the agent's like, "Oh, Homelander, or sorry, Soldier Boy, he's on the other line." Like, okay, put him through. He's kind of nervous when he's asked about put him through, but then he right away is shit talking and stuff, and Soldier Boy just says, "Well, the reason I'm calling is because the situation's completely changed," and he's found out that the reason it's changed is because back in 1980, he went into a lab and he looked at some model and had a nice bush and put some of his specimen into a container, and then 1981 a baby was born, a boy, and it pretty much just insinuated, which we all kind of figured out. And I the second he called him, I knew. I didn't know what he said, but the second he called him, I even before they spoke, I'm like, oh, he's the dad, and that was the big reveal.
How'd you know that? How'd you know that?
Because it would just, what other reason would he have to call Homelander? And I just felt that, okay, it's going to have to be something with Vought, and Vought replaced him, right? And that's why I was thinking, and I didn't know up until any point, but when it's like, oh, it's him, and it was actually Soldier Boy, that's where it felt like, okay, this is a reason, because he wants to have like a peaceful reunion, a peaceful meet, like he wants to come to terms. Why would be the only reason to come to terms? Because now I didn't know it was going to be specifically like he, masturbated into a cup, but I thought they were at least he was a clone or something, like he was going to be tied to Soldier Boy, which makes sense. He is literally now the upgrade Homelander, because it's like he has his powers but can fly and stuff like that. Edgar even says that, oh, he can fly, like all this stuff. So it's funny, it's very similar to what they're going to do with Ryan, right? A few seasons ago, that they're kind of keeping Homelander in the dark, and it felt like same thing. They were going to take out Homelander when Ryan was of age. So again, hadn't read the comics, so it was, even when I thought about it, I still wanted to confirm. But when it's they took me into the lab, I'm like, oh, I know what's happening here. But I was still shocked, even though I figured out. I was like, man, I never saw that coming. And what a fun storyline to play up now, because like Soldier Boy's been frozen for all these years, so it is possible in this world they have the same DNA, and now it's going to be. It's funny how last season you had the finale of Homelander dealing with his son, but now it's Homelander dealing with his father, So it's going to be a very interesting dynamic. I want to get your thoughts on it before I say where I think it's going to go.
Well, now I'm starting to think that before we were thinking like, oh, we're going to get the final fight. Like, are they leading up to Homelander's, being killed off, whatnot, all that kind of stuff, losing his powers, all that jazz. I think that's totally off the table now. I think this totally shifts it. And now it's all, you're right. Like, we're going to get a whole nother season of them just like the boys trying to like go up against Vought and Homelander. And now we're dealing with the dynamic of the father, Soldier Boy, and now Homelander obviously has the coordinates of where his son Ryan is, so that's going to be interesting. And now
that's assuming you didn't know that. That's what I assumed too, but they didn't outright say that, did they?
Well, what else would it be?
I agree, but I'm just saying they still didn't say it, right? They didn't full out say it, but it has to be where Ryan.
It has to be, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know what else would it be, and if it was anything else, it'd be so underwhelming. But I mean, the
just
boys,
a big supply of milk, like from that lady. She's like, we have buckets of it, we stored some away,
But it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. I'm flabbergasted that they managed to do that, because I didn't see it coming. I thought, okay, we're gonna get the team up here or something like that when he's calling, but sure enough, when he's like, oh, I jacked into a cup and all that kind of stuff, I thought, holy shit, like this is wild. So the situation's changed. Now, how is this fight going to go? Because you have two massive power characters suddenly aligned as allies now to a degree. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how receptive Homelander is to this, but yeah, it's just very intriguing, because now Butcher is the only one that can really counter. Like, he's Homelander, but he can't fly, right? At least not yet. So
yeah, I think it's funny. You're right and wrong in a sense where they have a whole season to deal with it. I think Homelander might snap or do something at the very end of this episode next week. Even then, I still think there's a chance they could hold it. But now we'll get into what Annie did and stuff. I feel like it's going to happen. Homelander almost fucking shot down a guy in the crowd today because he thought that it was Soldier Boy, but he was just like freaking out. So I actually think next week Soldier Boy is going to die. I don't think Homelander. I think that's kind of a red herring where you think, oh, Homelander won't hurt him now because it's his father. And they might even team up for a little bit, but just knowing Homelander, and even though he wants to be loved, there's going to be this kind of like, he wants to be the number one Uno guy, like there's just something about where even if it's his dad, and like Homelander's the type of guy who, like, again, he wants to be loved, but he was about to shoot down his own fucking son last season before Maeve got in there. Like he would not like he does not have much connection to Soldier Boy other than like they have some DNA, and that's why I think one or two conversations will suffice Homelander. I think there's going to be a moment, and even if it is to somehow, if Soldier Boy comes out and him and Vought use Soldier Boy coming out in the public to spin it to get back Homelander into the good graces somehow, that's where I think could happen, where Soldier Boy seems expendable to Homelander. So I think this is kind of red herring where we think, oh, they're going to team up, and they might even for a little bit. But I think that I think Homelander will kill him next week. I do. And I'm not disappointed either way. If he dies, if he doesn't, sure. I just don't know at that point if you have Homelander and Soldier Boy team up and then become the ultimate evils. Then I feel like there's almost nothing for the show to do against these two characters. It's believable to me because with Compound V, we found out some bad shit's going to happen. Lots of the characters are missing, so that's why I feel like they both won't be around.
Mm-hmm. And you made a good point too. I think the idea that okay, they share some slight DNA is their only real connection with each other. You're spot on with that. I think it's also worth noting too that Homelander is terrified of losing his powers. Like he needs to be a soup, and all of a sudden, Dad or not, here comes a soup that is matched to his strength, but could also remove his powers. And I think that terrifies him. So like he is still consciously afraid of his dad now. So that will not keep like his dad isn't safe. Obviously, like he probably doesn't trust his dad, even though his dad did say like, "Hey, I would have just stepped aside and gave you the spot, right, to lead the seven or whatnot." But yeah, I don't think he'll fully trust him. He'll be in shock. But then again, Homelander loves to be nurtured and coddled, right? Well, at least with that motherly-like figure. So it'll be
But that's why.
figure,
I just don't think he's gonna get that from Soldier Boy. I think Soldier Boy he's gonna team up as far as like a very old school, like you're my blood sort of way, but he's also gonna be like that old school father, like how we talked about Black Phone Review, that would abuse his son. Like there could be a moment where Homelander screws up or does something next week, and Soldier Boy like reams him out. So if he goes to ream out Homelander the same way he does to Huey, he might think he's safe because now I'm your father, but it's like, you're not his real, like you're his biological father, but you're not his father. You didn't raise him, and also it's just like you're just a dude that he hasn't known for years that he thought was dead, So it's not like there's some big connection here. So that's why it feels almost similar to the way of like a little less, but like Kylo Ren and Snoke, very much less, but or like less than that because they knew each other. But the way Kylo like eventually enough was enough of the abuse. Now that was a 2.5 hour movie. I just feel like Homelander is the type of character he's even worse than Kylo that could just snap as far as like Homelander or Soldier Boy does one. Like what if Soldier Boy just like hits him? Now I know they fought, but now it's different because it's like your dad hitting you. Like I just don't. I don't see them being able to coexist for too long, but I think because Soldier Boy is like the good old boy, he would not think Homelander will turn on him. He's going to think that he comes from a different age that like, oh yeah, because he's my son, that means everything now. This means I'm under his thumb, and that's where I don't think he'll see it coming and stuff like that. So
yeah, you make a good point with that.
So we'll see what happens next week. Obviously, big reveal. I can't wait for their first scene talking. And I do think what's going to happen is Soldier Boy is going to lead Huey and Butcher into a trap because they're going to think they're all together and everything like that. And I want to talk about Butcher because we had quite a bit of journey with him on this episode as far as he got hit by Mindstorm. He was put in this coma, a coma that you just have a nightmare till you die because dehydration unless Mindstorm comes to you. And I knew that was going to happen. The whole way when I knew he was going to get him to Billy, and the second he got Billy out, Soldier Boy was going to fuck him up. Like, I'm like, there's no chance this is going around and everything like that. But we had a lot of character motivations, and Butcher, I thought, was the biggest up until a point because we've heard so much about his brother. We've heard about, and we saw his dad a few seasons ago, but we've heard about that dynamic of having a terrible childhood. And now we saw it where he was beaten a lot. His brother was beaten, and then he went to the army, and he kind of lied to Lenny, just saying, like, oh, maybe it won't be as bad. He was just trying to be optimistic, but he kind of knew. And at least he internally feels like he knew his brother was going to get beat up, and he was gone for 6 months, didn't visit at all, like he said, and then his brother just couldn't take it anymore. He took a gun and killed himself. Now, in this vision, it's like, completely like Lenny's talking to him, saying it's your fault, and you shouldn't have done this, but it doesn't matter. The vision is more about like what Butcher's feeling internally. Now, we've talked about this for 3 years now, or whatever, the past couple of years we've been reviewing The Boys, where I've always said that Butcher is like the nicer version of Homelander, where he is, yeah, he's fighting for the good guys, but he has the same qualities. He treats the teams the same way. He does the same underhanded tactics. He's like hated by people that used to be his friends, like all this stuff, right? He has this complex where he feels like he's better than everybody, and he's willing to put people at risk. And then this week we have this, we're having with Lenny, and he wakes out of the vision, and he's crying, and he's saying his story. And I actually think it's some of Carl Urban's best acting this whole show, like not just the crime, but like everything in this episode, the conversations with Lenny, Huey, when he took the phone call with Annie. I think this is his best episode. But for me, what I'm confused about, and like I said, I know The Boys, so most of the time they will write something that makes me go, okay, this was worth the payoff. But still, in the moment, I have to question. They did this huge moment where I felt, okay, finally, Butcher's going to turn the corner. The way Homelander didn't turn the corner and he just got worse and worse, this is where Butcher's going to come back and he's going to prove us wrong that, you know, he's not going to be that old bitter guy that dies at the end, or who's left alone in the show. Like, he's going to figure out the error of his ways. But then what happens is he gets a call from Annie. Annie found this information that says if you take the compound V 3 to 5 times, death is very likely, right? And I think they're definitely at 3. Like, they're definitely, I feel like they're at 3, so they're just on the brink. I even Huey, because this, I think it was the third one, right? Because the first one was Huey surprised everyone. The second one was last week with Starlight when saving her, and then this one, so he's on the 3. So it's like, and I think Butcher's at 4 now.
He did the surprise. They went after Crimson Countess, and then they did the Hero-gasm.
And then this week.
This is 4.
Yeah, so he's at 4. Yeah. So he's, and she said 3 to 5 would likely kill you or will kill you. So I feel like if he gets to 6, it's over for him. So my whole thing is I'm hoping that they did this just to fuck with us, of like, we're going to get more Compound V and let's go kill these people. My theory is that he's just telling Huey that to keep him motivated, but when the time comes to make the play to save Huey, he will do that. Even if Butcher ODs on this Compound V stuff, I think he will save Huey. But if he doesn't, that would be to me a fumbling of this arc, because I thought this episode was a perfect way to like semi-redeem Butcher or get him on a better path of, you lost Becca, you lost Lenny, you're going to lose Huey. And we've heard this whole show about, you know, like, why does he feel so close to Huey? Why does he like Huey so much? And we kind of assume because he looks at him like a little brother, but we kind of got that right in our face this episode of like literally Lenny and Huey being spliced. So I thought it was great. It all depends on what happens next week, though, because if Butcher's just back to being shady, I feel like it was kind of a waste of time. Like, they should have saved this episode for when he did the big turn. So what did you think about Butcher this week? Because he went through quite a bit.
Yeah, that dream sequence was fucking wild, but I do think, again, I would like to tell myself the way I headcanon it is that he is projecting out this falseness to just kind of keep playing the part like, hey, yeah, we're going to go get more, you know, Compound V and do all this stuff, kill the Soups, all that jazz, just to keep Huey in line with the plan and everything. Because it seemed like he just really gritted his teeth when he said that to Huey, and I wasn't like super convinced about it. But that being said, in those flashbacks, the one thing that we really got to take note of is that he will try to do the right thing, and then right after that, he'll do something completely in reflection of his father. And this could be that where he's about to do that right thing and do something good, but then he just does that reflective moment of being like his dad, and he hates that. So I'm wondering if that's if that's them just doing this and portraying that, or if it's truly he's just being redeemed.
Yeah, because I feel like if it's just them doing that and he is turning into his father, he just turns into like less of a likable character. You know, like, I just don't care about Butcher as much as like I care about him, but I'm not rooting for him anymore. It's like we talk about like a Breaking Bad or the movie Joker, where it's like Butcher's at that part where he could be too close to not being able to come back to like the good side, you know? So if he's just going out there deliberately, like, if the turning point will be next week when Compound V gets introduced to Huey, if he lets Huey take it, then it's like, well, for me, he's almost close to that irredeemable side for me. Like, I like the character, but I'm not rooting for him because he actively knows, I don't care what he does to himself, but he knows it could kill you or very likely kill you, and he's going to let Huey do it. Then it's like, there's nothing, I can't root for Butcher anymore, you know? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. Huey just felt like, again, some development where the past 2 weeks, he had decided, like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to be a killer just because I got to take out Homelander. But it finally felt like this was the week where he's starting to snap out of it and realize that this isn't the right way. Great scene with him and Soldier Boy and the pastor and the nun and everything like that. Like,
Oh,
some
fuck.
some great stuff going on there. And even then, like Soldier Boy said, like, she's taken over by Mindstorm. I don't know if that for sure happened. It could have just been the nun jumping on him because they fucking killed that pastor, you know. So I don't know.
But
like,
it's true, but I've never seen a nun just pull a knife out, like you said, and just trying to like shank him and stuff and start swearing. Like, it totally could happen. I've never been in a situation where my religious father,
gunned down in front of you.
was gunned down. Yeah, and then that scene with Huey's just like, I'm fucking done with this exorcist shit. Like, that was good.
But yeah, and I like that we kind of got him getting back to a bit more normal, and I feel that he's still with the same hotel as Soldier Boy and everything like that, but it feels like he's realizing the error of his ways. Again, he's still like down just we're doing this mission tomorrow, but I guess it just feels like, I don't know. He was kind of weird that he had this arc of kind of turning the corner a little bit, but he's still kind of down to do this with Butcher and still be hanging out with Soldier Boy. So I see it needs some clarity there. Maybe he's just kind of coming to this realization. I'll hit him a bit more next week. So that, I think, was not the most kind of seamless transition as far as, oh yeah, someone's revving up big time out there. It wasn't the seamless transition of they were telling us one thing and kind of showing us another. But what do you think is going on for Huey next week?
Yeah, I mean, well, Starlight for sure is going to try and come in and save him somehow because she knows she can't trust Butcher at this point. But,
No.
like, I want to say, with how they pulled off this whole Homelander Soldier Boy thing, I do want to say, okay, all of the boys, like, everyone's still going to be kicking and is still going to be alive. It's going to be probably pretty rough going into this finale. I think somehow they're going to end on a pretty rough note, but I think we're going to see all of them still alive. And I would say that because they've already just all gone through a lot of shit. The one person I could see going is probably like M.
Maeve?
No. What's his name? Like MRM? Isn't that his name?
MRM.
Why am I drawing a blank? Blue, not Soldier Boy killed his family. Isn't his name MR?
Oh, Marvin.
Like MR? Marvin, yeah.
MR. There's an M
MR.
and an R, yeah. Looking for you, Chris R. Looking for you, MR.
But yeah, I think that it's possible that he could go just because
Really?
he hasn't had it like super, super rough necessarily. Like, he's just been suffering from his trauma, but he's been making some mistakes, I guess. But I mean, that's a very like low percentage. I think, I'll reiterate, they're all going to make it to the next season. Kimiko's got her powers back, all that jazz. But with Huey in particular, I think he's going to be fine. He's not going to take that extra dose. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Marvin's safe too because I think there's still more stuff to play out with his family and his daughter and everything like that. Because I feel like he has to be around for when Homelander eventually gets revealed to be a terrible person, just to kind of be like, "See, I fucking told you," you know. So, and he'll win some points with his daughter and his ex-wife. Maybe they'll get back together because, like, man, we should listen to this whole time. So, and that was good. There wasn't much Marvin in this episode other than that of like him, the new step husband or stepfather coming head to head in this moment because he took her to a Homelander rally, his daughter, and he didn't like that. And I just loved everything. Like, again, it's playing much on especially a lot of American politics, but just their whole conversation. Like, no, like Starlight's trafficking kids. She's been doing Homelander like all, and Homelander just like made up all this stuff. I love the president's reaction or the candidate just like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, he spent 20 minutes. He's supposed to introduce his president, and the whole time he's just like he's just making up. It seems like he's just making up stuff about Starlight on the spot. Like, he'll just say anything. Like, yeah, you know that house? She's trafficking kids. Like, it was great. Like, he was losing it. Like we said, that was the point where he saw a random civilian turn into Soldier Boy and then went back, but he had his laser eyes. Like, he was ready to go. He was ready to kill him. So that's why, again, next week it's not looking good. But yeah, so Marv, not much in this, but good stuff with his family. Kamiko and Frenchie, I liked their dynamic here because I think they've been I think we've talked about before, like a little less as far as our rankings, as far as characters we've been caring about, or just their story, not their characters, but the storyline. But I like that they've got back together with the group. They're still having their own kind of mini storyline within the group, but I like that it started to relay into this because two things. One, they kind of finally got to talk about the kiss, which was good. So they're kind of falling for each other. But two, I liked the scene of Kamiko with Annie talking about the powers because I also felt that that was a moment for Annie to see that Kamiko wants to get these powers because she wants to save Frenchie. And I think she finally, where last week it seemed like, oh man, Annie and Hugh are going to be broken up. I thought this maybe until next season. Now I think it's the opposite of she saw from the perspective of someone else who had powers for a long time, but still had powers, doesn't have them anymore, how helpless she feels. So I think she kind of sees how Huey might have been feeling the same way of Kamiko, just saying, I just want to be able to save him. I think now, even if she still thinks Huey's wrong, she can see where Huey's coming from. She understands a bit more of, okay, I'm working with someone right now that's going through a very similar thing. I got to get him back. Instead of last week where she was just find a, okay, I'm going to leave you, whatever. If you're going to go kill yourself, go kill yourself. Like, not that she wanted him to, but just like she just kind of gave up on him. Rightly so, because he just was going against her. But I think that was kind of a wake-up moment for her, too, of, no, even if he doesn't want me to, I got to fight for this or he die, which obviously he's on the road to dying now. So anything to add on Kamiko and Frenchie?
I'm enjoying their narrative. I mean, you already said so much for addressing the kiss and everything like that, but like I like that they're talking and having this, the dancing scenes, everything like that, and that she chose to get her powers. It's working for me. So yeah.
Well, you know what you should choose? You should choose to go to manscaped.com right now because, as I said, my window's open and it's getting hot here. I don't know where y'all live and everything like that, but where I am, it's getting hot. Canada Day is coming up, and that's why, thank goodness, I'm going to be shaving nice down to the core. I'm really painting a picture for you. But I can do that with Manscaped because right now, with our podcast code, GVPOD, you can get free shipping and 20% off. I'm very excited because soon they're going to have some new product. They're going to have some new stuff for us to talk about. But the good thing is we have all these other things that we've done in the past before. They don't even got to, that's good with Manscaped. They keep making all this new stuff and we welcome it. Keep doing it. It's all been good stuff. But they have just a plethora of old things that I'm sure that you, even if you're listening, have maybe tried one thing. You probably got the 4.0 because we've talked about it so much and that's great. And maybe you got the Weed Whacker. But there's tons of other things you should be trying and getting because one, they're like I've said this before, their packaging, just their product making, immaculate. I got to use the plow today. Just great stuff. The crop preserver, all these things. So that's why if you've tried one of their products, you want to be getting on the website right now and doing this for the summer. You want to be looking good. You got that beach ball ready to go. Whether you're man or woman, you don't want to be having anything creeping out. You want to be well kempt and everything like that. You're going to be seeing other hot looking people. You're going to want to make some moves and maybe things go right. You want to go back to your bed or want to go back to your home for a little milk and the cow action. You don't want to be looking. You don't want to how Soldier Boy said he was looking at that magazine that had like a huge bush. You don't want that going on right now. You can have a huge bush, just make sure it's maybe nice maintained, and that's what you can do with Manscaped because not only can you just shave it down, you got guards, you got trimmers, whole bunch of stuff, right, Taylor?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, if you're going to weddings, this summer wedding season, I'm an advocate for it all the time. You need to have this package. It's great. Like you can just go to the whole wedding and you won't be sweating away. You don't want other people to be smelling you. You're sitting there for a good few hours talking to people. So it has everything. Again, I've been using the body wash daily. I love the deodorant, the body spray. Again, I use that daily too. I just love that stuff. It's freaking awesome. And the shampoo and conditioner in one, that is fantastic because I don't ever buy conditioner. Yeah. I always just buy shampoo, and now, yeah, it's fantastic.
There you go. Perfect for you. So there you go. Go to Manscaped right now. Get 20% off and free shipping. We're going to take another break, and then we'll be right back with the rest of the boys. And we're back. So let's see. So I want to talk about Annie next because I'm not sure. Maybe there's some other few things to talk about. Maybe one in particular. But oh man, I just see stuff like this in our StreamYard just kicking around.
Oh yeah.
I always forget what's popping around in there. We'll be talking about him in a couple of days on news. Michael Keaton's Batman. But so Annie last week, big thing. She started to reveal, hey, Vought's not all it is. Everything we've talked about in the show, she's laying that shit down in real life, right? And then she's starting to now do daily posts and stuff like that. We talked about our stuff with Kamiko. That was all good and fine. Like I said, I liked her little character motivation there, change up. So she goes to get this compound V. Now, it's like a permanent compound V. I can't remember what the actual maybe it is. Was it just a permanent version of Compound V? Is that
It
what
was
they
a permanent
said?
version, yeah. The blue stuff.
Okay, I
That's
wasn't
what
sure if
she's
there's like
going for.
yeah, I wasn't sure if there's like a different name. And fuck Huey and what's his name? Butcher sure just got that the amount that they're using temp Compound V. But
Yeah,
either way,
no kidding.
so they're just junkies now. But either way, so like we covered the Kamiko stuff. She's gonna go get it. I thought that was very risky. Now it ended up leading to some good stuff. I still don't necessarily buy in this situation when everything's going to shit that she would go to Compound V or she would go to Vought just to get this. Like I know Kamiko wants the powers back, but I thought it was very risky. And I would say that's one thing where when she was at the building talking to Homelander, I didn't feel the sense of urgency because I thought that hey, like right away, it was they were going to be looking for after, but it just kind of felt like she walked, like she did the cameras, but it felt like she just kind of walked in, got the stuff, walked out. So I wish there was like a little bit more heaviness there, but I think they tried to write it off by Homelander being like, well, you have so many followers, that's why you're protected. And I thought, yeah, I guess so. I just felt like Homelander would have still done something else, but still, he's doing a lot of other shit. So I'll give it a pass of like, it's just they don't know how to handle it, and maybe Annie's been gone up until this point. So she's going there to get the Compound V, the permanent one, and I was just halfway through. I was like, man, I hope she's fucking recording all this because this would at least justify her going there. Because I went, okay, just to go for the Compound V, I think that's too risky and not worth it. Because you could just step in that building and get killed right away. But if it's to possibly get in there and record Homelander, that'd be great. And then there was a point like near the end of the conversation, I thought, oh, they're not doing that. Like that's not happening. It's not a thing. But then when she's like, oh, thanks for reiterating that to me and my 190 million followers that are watching this live right now, that's when I stood up. And even though I love Homelander, great villain, one of my favorite characters around right now in TV or media, I was like, I got up, I fist bumped, like, fuck, hell yeah. Like, I was so happy that happened. Because again, I was like, some shows that aren't well written wouldn't do that or wouldn't do it in the way they did it. And it's so great because the whole show's been about like she has like a big fan base. So this is like she's using that as a power, and it's just and she steps on an elevator and Homelander's like, oh, I told you not to record me when we were practicing lines and stuff like that. Like the worst cover up because it doesn't make any sense for what's happening right now. It doesn't make any sense for there's no movie about him killing Supersonic or something. Like all that, like they're gonna try their best. Like even he's saying to Ashley, like, that's your job, like just figure it out. But he's getting put in a corner. Now we haven't seen the public reaction to this yet. We will next week. Of course, some people will probably believe him, but that's where I think there could be some act that might make it even worse. But I absolutely love that. And again, I just feel like Homelander now with Huey. I'm surprised he has not mentioned Annie's mom yet. Maybe that's coming up. But I thought he was actually going to already have that ace in the hole of like, you got to figure shit out. Or like, I got Maeve here. I also got your mom and stuff. But yeah, that was such a moment. Because like, I love Homelander the character, but I want him to get taken out. It's time for him to get taken out. Not because I want the show to end or the character to end, just because he's just becomes a bigger piece of shit every year, every episode. So it's like, I want this guy to die. I want him to die poorly. I want him to crash and burn. So great moment and stuff by Annie. So what do you think about this little situation here?
I thought it was fantastic. Again, it just completely caught me off guard because her taking that risk going there, just getting that, you're right. Like it's a flight risk. You need to have some contingency. And as soon as Homelander showed up, I was thinking, shit, this is brutal. And is there only excuse out of this for him not to do anything? The fact that, hey, I'm not afraid of you anymore. I wasn't really buying that, even though like I do believe she's not really afraid of him anymore. But yeah, when she pulled that phone out, it was just great because his demeanor changes, his reaction changes, and he's just so like shell shocked. And I love him trying to like bullshit his way out of it. It was so good.
Oh yeah, because he threatened her boyfriend. He admitted that he killed Supersonic. I'd have to go back and watch that scene because he was just saying a bunch of stuff. He was coming off very threatening and things like that. So I'm sure even some people say it's doctor, but that's a good thing with it being live. And yeah, I can't wait just to see the shitstorm that's happening next week. And such a good move. Like Annie feels like the real. Again, she might be right as far as her letting people know that more people are talking about it now. Vought, not everyone believes, but still people are talking about it. Now this live stream, it might be like the way that she wanted to fight might have been the way of the whole time. Like what she was telling Butcher and Huey of like teaming up with Soldier Boy could be a mistake. And look, let's say for some reason Soldier Boy and Homelander don't fight or kill each other. If they do just team up and next year's just them fucking wrecking shop, then that will show that the boys were really wrong. Because if they wouldn't have woken up Soldier Boy, none of this would have happened. So she's definitely the MVP right now. Man, talk about something that, again, it's justified in a sense because he's been an asshole, terrible character. But this moment with A Train, man, what a fucking shot! Like, I literally moaned. I was like, oh, like it hurt me so much. Where we get revealed he's alive, he's not doing well, but Ashley, who's always great, little mini MVP all the time in a role, she's pretty much just giving him his walking notes that Soldier Boy is real. He showed up to kill people at Hero Gasm. He tried to stop it. He tried to save Blue Hawk. It didn't happen. They were trying to come together. She's like, you're going to get a movie. You're going to get all this stuff and everything. And he's kind of like perplexed about why she's talking about all these things because, like, obviously he can't run. But then she's like, well, the good news is out of all this, you got a new heart. You got Blue Hawk's heart in you. And now she's like, she's trying to sell it. She's like, it's good. You can run. No heart disease. You can get to 100%. It's going to take a little time, but you're going to be better than ever. A-Train's back, baby, right? That's what you say. And it's a mix of him being like, you're going to say this, right? Yeah. And she's like, you'll shit talk Starlight. He's like, yeah. But why? And she's like half answering him. So again, even he was agreeing to stuff, just being, yeah, I'll do it. But he was still even throwing in like little words or phrases where it felt like still he's not fully back on board with the team. And I feel like him having Blue Hawk's heart is like another like, sure, I guess because it's a soup heart, you can make the argument of that's the only heart that would work with him. But it still feels like on purpose, like Ashley or Homelander, or these people would give him this heart as like a fuck you to and stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah.
man, again, I just feel like that's gonna be like another type of moment that's kind of turning him around. And now that he has he will get his full powers back. I don't think he's gonna factor in the finale much next year or next season, or sorry, next week. I think we'll get a scene of him because I think he'll still be on the mend or something like that. But next year, I think he's gonna play a bigger role, and I do think that he will see something or learn of something next week that'll push him more towards the Annie Huey boy side of things, or even if it's not. If it's like Hux, right, in episode 9, where it's like, I'm not with the rebellion, I just want to see Kylo Ren lose. I could see A-Train being like that, where he's not doing it because he wants to turn a leaf and be with the boys and Huey. Even though last week he had that moment with Huey, which seems like he's turning. But yeah, only one scene with A-Train, a heartbreaking scene, no pun intended. But man, it was, I could not believe that. What did you think of this?
Yeah, that was just icing on top of the cake. Just it's someone who literally paralyzed your brother. You hate this guy. He's racist. And now you know,
Yes.
like, his heart is you have his heart. That's 1 to 100. That's so fucked up. So like, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts to think that. And yeah, so here he is, and I'm glad that he's gonna be up to par, ready to bat. So I'm super jazzed to see how that's gonna play into this now that he's got his powers back, and if he is going to kind of join up with the boys. Because again, I don't trust him. He's definitely a shady guy still. So, but I mean,
Oh, yeah.
being like this, I mean, definitely like, yeah, I'd be pissed.
Talk about a shady guy. He also had our other favorite fucko, the Deep, who
Oh, I was
again,
laughing
this is
so
where
hard.
I think the trajectory of both characters we see where A-Train, I think, eventually will turn and be good or help this good side even more. Where the Deep, now he has this wife who we've talked about, yeah, she's a little controlled, but her whole pitch is that they're kind of like a working marriage, right? As far as, hey, I'm gonna be married with you, get all these benefits, money and stuff like that, but I'm gonna help you. And she did help his comeback, because she laid it out for him. You're an idiot, you're a dummy and stuff like that. Yeah, it seemed like she was controlling, maybe too controlling, because she was siding more with Homelander. So us as watchers, like, oh, don't do that. But he's saying he got this thing on Hannity. She's very excited and stuff like that. At first, I thought when he was massaging her, it was to prep her for him telling her that the photo was going to leak, because it felt very much like some other shows that kind of do that. But no, it was that, they've been married for a bit and it's been great, but things are going to stay in the bedroom and they want to introduce the third member. And he brings in the octopus from last week, and it does not go over well. She agrees to like a little bit, because Deep's like, just give it a shot. And he is getting some pleasure from this octopus, and she's like, oh, this is kind of a little much and stuff. And then he goes, well, she wants to taste you too. And you just, yeah, you just got an octopus arm on her leg, and she's like, fuck it, I'm out. And she just freaks out. And now this is when the Deep's completely, gone off the deep end, pun intended, where he's just like, I can do without you. I have, what was that term that cult guy was telling him last year? Like, pivotal intellect, or so he kept yelling that phrase at her when she walked out, like, I have this sort of intellect, funny, I'm forgetting that phrase, but he feels like now he's made the comeback. He can do this without her. He can't because he's a fuck up and he's always gonna fuck these things up. Now Homelander may like need the fuck up as like a sacrifice or to fight for him on the team because he'll take anybody that will be with him. But yeah, the Deep is on his own again, and yeah, he's gonna screw up. And again, I'm not sure if Annie's posting that photo soon or what the deal is, but I think it's a downward trajectory for his life being good at all.
Yeah, that whole thing of him just trying to do that sexual thing with the octopus and have her incorporated, I just thought that was hilarious. And she just starts ranting everything that she just gave up. It's not going to go well for him because she's been definitely keeping him in line, and it's just that classic kind of you're in this position where, hey, like, this person's giving me like cliff notes and guiding me along, and then you think you're ahead of the game, like, well, I've been doing it right the whole time, I don't need my manager anymore. And they go off on their own and they're just gonna get just mauled by the tigers and the lions. So that's gonna happen with the Deep. I don't doubt it at all, because he's an absolute fucking goofball and he's a fucking moron and he's just full of bad decisions. So yeah, when she was in the bed next to him, I thought, holy shit, like, this is weird. Like, he's just being, what's the point of even having her there? Because he's just enjoying himself with the octopus. Why does he even need females in the first place?
Well,
he just
I think
loves the sea,
well,
sea
no,
creatures.
I think he still enjoys females enough because we had seen multiple seasons of him either hooking up with females or sexually assaulting them, unfortunately, right? So I think like he just likes to fish a bit more, but again, he still wanted the wife in on the action. But the wife ran away, so I'm not sure what would happen if the wife would have said, "Yeah, I'm all for this," and then it would have continued. But no, I think he just leans towards fish. You know, maybe that's he's realizing now. So, and speaking of sextapades, the only thing I gotta shout out, because we talked about Soldier Boy a bit, he was just pushing Huey this whole episode. There's not like. Soldier Boy was Soldier Boy. You know, he was used for a lot of exposition for Homelander, Black Noir, and Huey. The only thing was that fucking wild scene when they're looking for him to be in the episode, and he has these two older bras. He's just like, man, yeah, the older they get, the richer they are, but also the drier. And he's just talking about how he needs all this lube and stuff. And it's like he won't sleep with anybody that's like he's sleeping with people that would have been his own age, which is just kind of funny. But yeah, quite a scene I was not expecting to come up. But
That actor, I can't remember his name, when he comes downstairs, he's like, thanks, I can't fire those two housemaids now.
yeah.
Yeah, Huey's like, don't look at me, like, don't make eye contact with me. He's like, tap me in, Huey, or whatever he said, something like that.
Yeah. Is there anything else to shout out for this episode that we've not tackled for you?
Homelander harvesting Queen Maeve's eggs.
Oh right, yeah. I was gonna bring that, but I completely forgot. Yeah, I see. So I don't think that's gonna come to fruition, but at the same time, you never know with the show because they shout the little things and it comes back. I think that's just his plan, but I think it will get stopped beforehand. But still, a super fucked up thing. It's almost like he got his child taken away, so he's gonna create his own child. That's what I think. He didn't say that, but it's also because he was talking about like, man, if we would have had a child, it would have been perfection. It would have been even better than Ryan. So especially now that he's kind of the head of Vought or one of the heads, he could get away with it. So we knew Maeve was alive, and now we know why she's being kept alive, I guess. I think she will break out and help our heroes at some point. But yeah, again, another just notch on, man, Homelander's a bad guy that I want to see taken out now, you know?
Yeah, no, I cringed when he said that to her. It just felt really like, ugh. And I like that she got the last call out on him. Like, this is the third top day because I got to see you afraid and all that stuff. But at its core, though, I hope she does get out, because the idea and the concept of him trying to like create a child, it's or just reproducing how he was created. But I don't see that happening now because, yeah, he's got Ryan's coordinates. He's going to go off there. And just, I think it'd be very funny to see him try to get Ryan, or just the dynamic. And I have Soldier Boy involved. Like, there's just this, it's funny
His
how
Ryan's grandfather.
Yeah. It's funny how it's just becoming just, it's the boys, but it feels like it's becoming the Homelander sandwich story. So.
Oh yeah. Homelander's a big deal with it. So. Well, we did it. That's today's episode or tonight's episode, or whenever you're listening to this. And yeah, next week's the finale. It's already over. Gonna be a great finale. Sad because I love Weekly Boys. It's just some of the best stuff on TV. But we'll be back next week breaking that down. I think it's gonna be some wild stuff. Probably imagining it's end on some big cliffhanger. I'm like, man, I just want the show already. But I think they said they're filming in August, so at least we'll be getting it next year. So, but yeah, we'll be back next week with the Boys finale, and we promise you it'll not be boring.
Bye-bye.